Introduction to Wuzhen Tianxia, Summoning from a Different Realm. Here is the Iron Eagle elite of the Great Qin Dynasty. Here are Wei soldiers from the state of Wei. Here are the martyrs of the western Chu giant deer. Here is the great Han Yulin Shi. Here is the Xuanjia Army of the Tang Dynasty. Here are the towering and majestic soldiers of China for 5,000 years, the unparalleled generals who have bravely crowned the Three Armies, the timeless heroes who have been renowned for centuries, and the unparalleled strategists who plan and strategize. Look at me, descendants of the Chinese nation, carrying eternal heroes, horses trampling on foreign lands, and wielding martial arts to conquer the world. Welcome to Bookmark. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The author is working hard to save the manuscript, and the babies they like will be collected and brought home first. We look forward to the future together. Chapter 1. Strange Flag. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's wrong with me? Jiang felt his double eyelids incredibly heavy, as if they had been filled with lead. He tried his best to open a gap, and a dazzling light rushed in, leaving a vast expanse of white before his eyes. After a while, the eyes finally adapted and saw dozens of big men wearing black armor in front of them. The dozen or so soldiers in front of them held bows in their left hand and swords in their right hand, staring fixedly ahead. Outside, there were also more than 10 big men holding long spears, as well as the outermost dozen soldiers holding round shields and swords. Jiang looked around and didn't move. It was okay. With this movement, Jiang felt a burning pain all over his body, including severe pain in his chest, abdomen, shoulders, arms, and thighs. Captain Ing is awake. Captain Ing. As Jiang spoke, two excited voices suddenly sounded beside him. Jiang then realized that there were two black armored soldiers guarding him. At the same time, Jiang also saw the situation around him clearly. There were several wooden carts around him, and more than 100 soldiers around him. At this moment, these more than 100 soldiers formed a formation similar to an iron barrel. Barbarians are here. As Jiang was about to speak, he heard a loud roar from the soldiers on the outskirts, and then, as if in response to his words, the rumbling sound of horse hooves sounded. Jiang was suddenly startled in his heart, as the cavalry charged forward. Before Jiang could regain his senses, he saw 7 or 8 cavalry dressed in grey leather armor charging forward. Let go. When there were still 30 steps left, a loud roar came from the front of the army formation. Dozens of archers who had been preparing for a long time in the middle immediately fired arrows, and the 7 or 8 warhorses at the front fell to the ground in an instant. The cavalry on top of them overturned to the ground. 7 or 8 warhorses fell to the ground, and the cavalry behind them did not stop at all. They continued to charge forward, with heavy hooves treading on the fallen cavalry and warhorses, and pounding the battlefield with the corpses of their companions. The distance of 30 steps was almost in an instant. Without any hesitation, the cavalry in the front row collided directly with the battle formation. Kill. A dozen or so long spearmen standing behind the sword and shield wielders exerted all their strength to thrust their long spears out of their hands. The spears pierced straight into the warhorse's body, and even the stronger ones pierced through its neck, piercing the cavalry behind its back. The long spear pierced out, and 2 or 3 long spears were inserted into the 6 warhorses in the front row. The horses collapsed weakly, but the fallen horses instantly tore open a gap in the battle formation, and most importantly, the weapons of more than 10 long spearmen were left on the warhorses. The warhorse charged forward, and the cavalry thrust upwards. After death, the warhorse fell down, and the spear was inserted even tighter. If it weren't for his bravery and strength, the spear would be infinitely powerful, and few would have been able to pull it back at this moment. The black armored soldier in front of him was obviously a veteran of the 100 battles. After stabbing his spear, he skillfully picked up the long sword prepared on the ground, and the sword and shield hands in the front row continued to retreat along the horse's fall to avoid being pinned down by the horse. Suddenly, Chu Jiang swayed backwards, and the thing supporting him behind him left. Before Chu Jiang could speak, a soldier helped him lie down. Then, in front of Chu Jiang's eyes, a wooden carriage appeared above his head. "Captain, take care." Immediately, the two of them picked up their long swords and, like the archers around them, retreated behind the swordsmen, shield-bearers, and spearmen. They formed a battle formation in groups of about 3, ready to fight. The sound of hooves rang out, and dozens of cavalry rushed in from the gap. The cavalry stood on the back of the horses and quickly cut and killed. In a moment, 7 or 8 black armored soldiers fell. Then, the thick hooves of the horse stepped over. The cavalry broke through the battle formation and immediately charged in a fan-shaped charge. For a moment, all the black armored soldiers were exposed under the cavalry's iron cavalry. However, these black armored soldiers were clearly well trained and experienced. Even under the charge of a large number of cavalry, they still did not turn around and ran away. If they could hide, they would hide, but if they could, they would desperately greet the horse legs. In less than a minute, all the cavalry rushed over, and by this time the iron barrel formation had been scattered, with a large number of soldiers dying tragically under the hooves of their horses. "Quickly, form in formation, form in formation." The voice that had previously commanded the army rang out again, and all the black armored soldiers standing hurriedly formed in formation. As for those lying down, regardless of their minor or serious injuries, they had no time to care at this time. The remaining black armored soldiers barely formed an iron barrel formation, and the rumbling sound of horse hooves echoed again. However, at this moment, Chu Jiang could no longer focus on his eyes, and a surging memory rushed into his mind, making him groan in frustration. Chu Jiang, a lieutenant of Liangshan military camp, led 500 troops to guard the Binghao military town. Yesterday, he received orders from the Chu general of Beichuan City to attack the northern barbarian grain road at all costs. Chu Jiang personally led 300 soldiers under his command and captured a grain transport team of 100 people. However, on the way back, he was encountered by a cavalry of 100 people from the northern barbarians. After intercepting the northern barbarian grain route with 300 infantry, there were only 240 left. When encountering 100 cavalry, they were still on the plain, almost in a situation of 10 deaths and no life. Relying on a 7-fold cultivation in martial arts, the original body wanted to take the risk of killing the northern barbarian centurion and solving this dangerous situation. The 100 barbarians and 100 generals were no more than the 5 heavenly warriors of the day after tomorrow, and they took the lead in charging in front of the army. They were directly cut and killed by their original bodies, and died in the underworld. However, the cost is that the original body was knocked down by a warhorse, and nearly 30 warhorses from Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com stepped over it. With 1 hoof on the chest, 1 hoof on the left shoulder, 1 hoof on the abdomen, 1 hoof on the left hand, and 1 cry on the right leg, this is still the result of the original body's long experience in the battlefield, coupled with being a 7-fold warrior and agile body shape. The one on the chest was the last warhorse to step on it, directly stepping on its original body, and then allowing the Chu River to cross over. By the time Chu Jiang had received all his memories and regained his senses, the cavalry had already begun the 3rd round of attack. Watching the shield soldiers on the periphery easily torn open by the northern barbarian cavalry, Chu Jiang's face darkened. Ignoring the pain all over his body, he reached out and grabbed the cart above his head, vigorously stroking forward. With the support of the 7 heavenly warriors of Chu River, the cart collided directly with the 2 cavalry soldiers in front of them, causing them to suddenly fall to the ground. However, the northern barbarian cavalry were not vegetarians either. With the foreshadowing of the previous 2, the rear 2 rode reins, and their horses jumped directly from the carriage, killing the Chu River. Humph! Chu Jiang let out a cold snort, grabbed his big knife in his palm, slapped his left hand, and instantly stood up. He kicked the handle of the long knife with his right foot, and accurately grasped it with his left hand. With 1 slash, directly cut off the head of a warhorse, the long sword will not diminish its momentum, and the cavalry on the horse's back will be beheaded with one slash. Immediately, the long sword swept across and cut off the leg of another warhorse. The northern barbarian soldiers immediately fell to the ground and were immediately struck by several black armored soldiers next to them for more than 10 times, resulting in their death with disorderly knives. Just as Chu Jiang was killing the first person, a blood light suddenly lit up in his mind. A dark battle flag appeared in Chu Jiang's mind, with a complex large character similar to seal script written on it. Chu Jiang felt a sense of joy in his heart. His golden finger had been credited, but the situation was critical and there was no time to check. Chapter 2. Xuanjia Dian Jiang Tai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Captain Camp. Seeing Chu Jiang wake up, he cuts down 2 cavalry soldiers face to face, and the morale of the black armored soldiers suddenly increases. Kill! Chu Jiang roared angrily, wielding a knife and cutting towards a cavalry charging towards him. Kill! All the black armored soldiers shouted loudly and killed the cavalry in front of them. Chu Jiang swung out with a single sword and easily killed the newcomer. As Chu Jiang watched the 4 cavalry approaching from behind, he swung his long sword one after another. Wherever the sword passed, people and horses flipped and 4 cavalry soldiers were killed on the spot. As Chu Jiang killed 9 cavalry, the 3rd round of the entire cavalry offensive came to an end. The cavalry charged past the formation and gathered at a distance of 100 meters, without launching a 4th charge. Hurry up, form a formation. Regardless of whether the cavalry killed or not, the black armored soldiers under Chu Jiang's command quickly began to gather, with sword and shield soldiers on the periphery forming an iron barrel formation at the fastest speed. The speed of the cavalry's charge is too fast, with a distance of 100 steps and only 8 or 9 seconds to start. If you don't hurry, the formation won't be formed, and the infantry will be a dead end against the cavalry. The iron barrel formation was formed, but the cavalry on the opposite side was not charging at all. Seeing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The cavalry rested early, and it would take at least 1 cup of tea time before the next charge. Captain, as long as you're okay. Chu Jiang turned his head and saw a young man wearing black leather armor approaching him. His voice revealed that he was the person who had previously commanded the army in battle. Jiang Fei, the northern barbarian cavalry was scared by me this time. You immediately organized troops to clean the battlefield and reorganized the battle formation. Without any greetings, Chu Jiang directly ordered. Jiang Fei, one of the flag officials under his command and in charge of 100 people, was one of the 3 flag officials he brought out this time. The remaining 2, who had not come yet, were probably already killed in battle. Yes. Jiang Fei immediately clasped his fists and saluted. Turn around and command the soldiers to collect long spears and bows and arrows to deal with cavalry. Long spears and archers have the greatest killing power, followed by shield hands who are the most useful. The least useful is soldiers who only hold a knife, and their killing power against cavalry is almost 0. Unless the soldiers themselves are strong enough to cut off horse legs, under the hooves of cavalry, they are lambs waiting to be slaughtered. However, the long spear is also the most difficult weapon to grasp. As long as it is pierced, 99% of it will not be able to return. Moreover, the long spear is too long, making it far less convenient to carry than a knife. In a hurry, I don't know where to throw it. After 3 charges, there were only 7 or 8 soldiers under Chu Jiang's command with long spears left, just picked up from the ground. Not only that, Chu Jiang's more than 200 troops and horses were left with only about 70 people, while there were nearly 40 cavalry on the opposite side. I can't do it anymore. If this continues, I will definitely die. I can only hope that the battle flag in my mind can solve the current situation. Don't be fooled by Chu Jiang's immense bravery just now, as he slashed 9 cavalry in a row. However, This was based on the fact that the cavalry had already dispersed and Jiang had even blocked them with a cart. Otherwise, let alone Jiang, who was injured 7 times the day after tomorrow, who was not injured 7 times the day after tomorrow. Even with cavalry charging, he could not kill 9 cavalry. Not to mention killing, it's being attacked by 40 cavalry, and after 2 or 3 rounds, one must be buried under the hooves of a horse. Jiang stared intently at the battle flag in his mind, and suddenly, the entire flag was full of blood. The sound of war drums echoed through the void like thunder, and the desolate and magnificent horn sounded in Jiang's mind. Jiang felt his whole body boiling with blood. The endless blood light obscured Jiang's view. As the blood light dissipated, Jiang's figure had already appeared on a high platform, surrounded by endless barracks, but now it was all a gray and dark color. Surrounded by Chu River, in the middle of the high platform where Chu River is located, there is a battle flag with a black background and blood characters inserted. This battle flag is exactly the same as the one Chu River had in his mind before. Around the high platform, nearly 100 giant war drums stand tall, and on the edge of the high platform behind the Chu River, dozens of large flags are inserted. The characters on the flag and the character on the central battle flag belong to the same species. In front of the battle flag, there is also a black desk. In the whole world, only the dozens of war flags and the black tabletop on the high platform have colors, while everything else is gray. Just as Jiang was staring at these battle flags, the words on the central flag suddenly flowed, and then a burst of blood light erupted from it, landing on Jiang, who had no time to react. Xuanjia Dian Jiang Tai. After an unknown amount of time, the blood in Jiang's eyes dissipated and he murmured. Looking at these big flags again, Jiang had already understood the meaning of these words. The middle big flag had the character war on it. And the big flags behind them have different characters, including Qin, Han, Shu, Wei, Wu, Jin. Sui, Tang, Song, Yuan, and Ming. There are also Chu, Qi, Yan, Han, Zhao, Wei. Xia, Shang, Zhou. Xian Yuan, Fu Shi, Zhuli, Taihao, and Shaohao. Each battle flag represents a well-known dynasty, feudal state, or even tribe in the Chu River. Zhaozuiyuan.com. From the blood light just now, Jiang had already understood where he was now. The Xuanjia Dianjiang platform was a place where all the armies, generals, and strategists in Chinese history could be summoned. Moreover, one thing that satisfies Jiang is that he can stay here for an hour every day, no limit to the number of times, during which time from the outside world is almost stagnant. Jiang doesn't have to worry that when he goes out, he will already be a corpse. Xuanjia Dianjiangtai divides the world's army and talents into 4 levels. Heaven, Earth, Xian, and Huang. Currently, the Chu River can only recruit the lowest level army and generals. The authority to summon the Xuanjia Army and generals has not been activated yet. It is necessary for Jiang to summon 10 fully composed armies before the Xuanjia summoning can be activated. Moreover, with Xuanjia's authority, one can summon up to 10 armies and summon 10 outstanding individuals individually. As the owner of the Xuanjia Point Generals platform, every time you unlock a level of permission, Jiang's roots will be elevated to the limit of the current level by the Xuanjia Point Generals platform. At present, Jiang only has Xuanjia permission, which means that after Jiang leaves, his roots will be elevated to the limit of Xuanjia characters. And after Jiang cultivates to break through his innate nature and generates true qi in his body, he will also obtain an exclusive cultivation technique. The Xuanjia Point General Taiwan's recruitment of a large army and outstanding talents is mainly divided into 2 steps. Recruitment and recruitment. Zheng means spending a certain amount of summoning points to select an army or a talented person. Currently, Jiang's authority is only limited to Xuanjia, and the corresponding cost for Xuanjia is 10,000 summoning points. However, conscription is only about summoning these large armies to the school field below the command platform, and cannot summon them into reality. And summoning is to summon these large armies into reality, and each summoning of a soldier requires a certain summoning point. Chapter 3. Tang Dynasty Right Military Guard. Fu Jiang Chen Bites Gold. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Summoning points refer to the items used in the general's platform, with only one origin, which is Chu Jiang and his subordinates killing enemies. Each time they kill an ordinary person, they earn 1 point, slaying an acquired warrior earns 10 points, slaying an innate expert earns 100 points, slaying a master expert earns 1000 points. As long as it is a warrior of the same level, the summoning points obtained from slaying are the same. According to the general's platform, warriors of the same level have the same life level and original power. Only by breaking through the Great Realm can the original power be enhanced. Similarly, summoning soldiers from the Chu River outside is the same. Warriors of the same level require the same summoning points, but summoning infantry of the same level requires 5 times the summoning points obtained by killing the warrior, while cavalry is 3 times the summoning points obtained by infantry. After sorting out the information from Xuanjia Dianjiang station, Chu Jiang stepped towards the table in front of the battle flag and sat down. At that moment, a black booklet was placed on the table, with a bloody handwriting on it, which was exactly 73. This is the current summoning point of the Chu River, calculated from the time it crossed over, which is the number of casualties from 3 previous cavalry charges, 30.2 ordinary soldiers, and 4 warriors. Looking at this number, Chu Jiang furrowed his brows. According to the news from the general's platform, the summoning points required to summon soldiers were 5 times the summoning points obtained by killing enemies of the same rank, while cavalry was 3 times the summoning points obtained by infantry of the same rank. This also means that infantry at the level of the day after tomorrow require 50 summoning points, and cavalry at the level of the day after tomorrow require 150 summoning points. This summoning point is only enough to summon 1 infantry. Chu Jiang pondered for a moment before thinking of a solution, and a smile appeared on his lips. In addition to the black booklet, there is also a square headless box in the upper right corner of the desk, which is the box where the arrow is placed. At this time, there is a blood-colored arrow inside. The arrow has a seal script on the front and a yellow font on the back. This is exactly the arrow used to summon soldiers or heroes. A yellow rank arrow, worth 10,000 summoning points, is a gift given by Chu Jiang to activate the yellow rank authority and point generals. In the future, if Chu Jiang opens a higher level of permission, the commander's table will also give a corresponding arrow as a gift. Chu Jiang eagerly looked at the arrow in front of him, which was his only hope of breaking the game. Without any hesitation, Chu Jiang grabbed the arrow and threw it onto the ground. At the same time, Chu Jiang silently remembered the army in his heart. The current Chu River can only summon armies and heroes, and the 2-digit summoning points of Chu River cannot be summoned. The arrow landed and turned into a burst of blood light. The blood light began to spread from the point where the arrow landed, and in an instant, it spread across the entire assembly platform, still spreading outward. Wherever the blood light passed, the gray color faded and reappeared. Immediately after, the sound of war drums echoed through the entire command platform, accompanied by the sound of desolate horns. At some point, a strong wind blew across the entire command platform, and the north howled, causing the hunting flags around the command platform to sound. Behind the Chu River, among several battle flags, the flag representing the Tang Dynasty lit up with blood. In front of Chu Jiang's eyes, endless blood light appeared in the school field, and figures appeared one after another in the blood light. Before long, the entire school field was already filled with figures, densely packed and out of reach at a glance. At this moment, the blood light on the school field converged and eventually turned into a book, landing on the table in front of Chu Jiang. Chu Jiang picked up the book, which had an extremely hard texture, not like paper, but more like animal skin. However, the animal skin was extremely thin and was made into a book. There are 5 big characters on the front of the book. Tang Dynasty Right Military Guard. Chu Jiang's eyes lit up, he was one of the 16 guards of the southern Yamen in the Tang Dynasty. Opening the book, on the first page, write. General. Qingyao Jin. Cultivation. 9 levels of mystical realm. Weapon. Bagua Xianhua Axe. Vice-General Qingyao Jin of the Tang Dynasty. The 9 levels of the Xianjing realm are not bad, not bad. Among the yellow rank heroes, they are considered the top, almost becoming the Xuanjia heroes. According to the rules of Dian Jiangtai, talented individuals generally surpass the Chu River by one great realm. Of course, this calculation only focuses on the great realm, regardless of the small realm. At present, Chu River is the 7th level of the acquired realm, which is considered the acquired realm. The summoned heroes are basically at the level of Tongxian realm, and the specific number of levels of Tongxian realm depends on the abilities of the heroes. After all, there is also a gap in talent within a certain level. Immediately, turning to the second page, it read. The right military guard has a total army of 100,000, divided into 5 armies in the front, back, left, right, and middle. Each army is divided into 4 battalions, with 1 battalion of cavalry named the Brave Cavalry Battalion and 3 battalions of infantry named the Ri, Yu, and Xing camps. Turning back, the third page reads. Right military guard system, 5 in 1, 5 in 1 team, 4 teams with 1 flag, 5 flags with 1 school, 10 schools as 1 battalion. Xuchang Shizu is a warrior of the 3rd level, with a commander of the 4th to 6th level, and a team leader of the 7th to 9th level. Upon seeing this, Chu Jiang's eyes suddenly lit up and he flipped back, only to see that behind him were flower lists, which were extremely simple, with names modified to. After flipping through a few pages, Chu Jiang found a team leader from Zhuchong the day after tomorrow and immediately chose to summon him. Immediately, the name of the team chosen by Chu Jiang changed from gray to red. Among the 100,000-strong army on the campus, a figure flashed a red light, and in the next moment, it transformed from gray to a normal person. This is a middle-aged man with a rough and crazy face. I am a subordinate of the Right Military Guard Front Army, and the Japanese Character Battalion is under the command of Shiqing. Meet the Grand Marshal. Chu Jiang was taken aback for a moment, then smiled confidently and ordered that the person sitting on the stage was the Grand Marshal. Even if the Emperor arrived at the command platform, it would still be a Great Marshal. No need to be polite, Shiqing, come forward. Chu Jiang and Shiqing explained a few words, then chose to summon, summoning location, 1 meter behind the Northern Barbarian Cavalry. The location where the summoned characters appear on the pointing platform can be freely designated by the Chu River, as long as it is 1 mile around the Chu River. Zhaoshuyuan.com. Immediately, Shiqing's figure suddenly disappeared, and Chu He smiled and left the podium. Outside, Chu Jiang looked at the cavalry in the distance with a meaningful smile on his face. The strength of the cavalry lies in charging, and only the charging cavalry is the true cavalry. Cavalry that hasn't charged yet, like infantry, even has obstacles from war horses, and is not as good as infantry. The leader of the Northern Barbarian Cavalry looked at the Chu River with a fierce expression in his eyes. He was the deputy centurion of the Northern Barbarian Army and a special official position set up by the Northern Barbarians to prevent the main general from being killed and the army from collapsing. On weekdays, he only manages 10 people and assists the centurion in managing the army. But after the centurion dies in battle, he will temporarily take over the army. However, what they brought out this time was not the elite of the Northern Barbarians, so only a small number were equipped with deputy centurions. Before Genshin, he took the risk of killing the Northern Barbarian centurion, betting that this 100-man cavalry team was not equipped with a deputy centurion. However, Genshin clearly made a mistake in his bet. So after killing the Northern Barbarian centurion in Chu River, he temporarily led this team and, after being seriously injured in Chu River, led cavalry to attack. I didn't expect that the general of the Yan army had not died yet, but it didn't matter. He was just an injured warrior in the later stage of the day after tomorrow, enough to easily defeat him. As long as they sit down and the warhorses recover, it's the deadline for those Yan people to die. After charging 4 times before, the warhorses are also tired, so it's a good time to rest and rest. Anyway, they can't run on the plain. Let's wait until the warhorses recover. The deputy centurion of the northern barbarians secretly thought to himself. This is the sorrow of infantry on the plain towards cavalry. Cavalry is fast and can fight whenever they want. Infantry can only endure it and cannot even escape. However, he did not notice that a burly man in black armor appeared out of thin air behind the northern barbarian army. Chapter 4. C.Class Military Town. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At the moment when Chen appeared, his foot stepped on the ground and his long sword swept across. A blood light appeared on the necks of the 3 northern barbarian cavalry soldiers, and their heads fell weakly. Their bodies tilted and fell off their horses. Upon hearing the commotion behind them, several northern barbarian cavalry soldiers quickly turned around, but a sharp sword light greeted them. Chen suddenly appeared behind the crowd, causing a violent attack. At the fastest speed, he cut 7 or 8 knives in succession, like chopping melons and vegetables, directly killing 18 northern barbarian cavalry. Noticing the movement behind, the first reaction of the northern barbarian cavalry in front was to mount their horses and flee. Regardless of their situation, they should first run to a safe place before proceeding. If they want to kill the enemy, they should also face them head-on, hoping to control their horses in place and turn around to fight against the people behind them. This is a foolish thing that only those who have not been on the battlefield would do. As the remaining 20 or so cavalry in front were about to flee on horseback, Chen's left hand suddenly swung, and the iron round shield in his hand flew out. The sharp edge of the shield cut through the throats of 2 northern barbarian cavalry soldiers in a row, ultimately accurately cutting into the neck of the deputy centurion of the northern barbarians. With a snort, the round shield sank directly into half, and the neck of the north barbarian deputy centurion was folded at an incredible angle. He was carried forward by the warhorse for 2 steps, and then he was powerless to bend to the ground. Drive. Chen slammed his legs on the horse's belly and chased straight towards the place where the northern barbarians had the most cavalry. He cut through them all the way, and 6 more cavalry were beheaded under the horses. The cavalry who had already scattered and fled in front of Chen raised their hand, and their long sword was thrown out by Chen, directly piercing one of the cavalry's chests. At this point, in just a few minutes, Chen killed 20.8 North Barbarian cavalry in a row, including the deputy centurion of the North Barbarian cavalry. Only 13 or 14 cavalry soldiers saw that the situation was not right and immediately rode their horses to flee, only to escape 1 life. Jiang's eyes lit up, truly deserving of being the person who came out from the podium. Watching the northern barbarian cavalry scattered by being killed 3 times and 5 times, the soldiers under Jiang's command burst into cheers, each with a sense of relief for the survivors. The battle line, which had been tightly prepared, also relaxed. Chen retrieved his shield and long sword, and rode his horse towards Jiang and others. As the Chu River approached, the smiles on the faces of the surrounding armored soldiers also narrowed, and the relaxed battle formation instantly became an iron barrel. However, at this time, there was no sharp spear on the battle formation, it was clearly just a simple defensive formation, without any hostility. Brothers, don't worry, the person coming is from my family. Jiang smiled and said. I turned out to be a member of the clan of Lord Yingui. No wonder he arrived at this critical moment. It seems that Lord Yingui has already made arrangements, said the flag official Jiang Fei on the side. Coincidentally, I can only say that our lives should not be cut off. Jiang exclaimed loudly. Captain Ing is right. The soldiers on the side relaxed when they heard that the person coming was a member of their own clan, the captain of their own camp. At this moment, they heard Jiang's words and laughed heartily to cater. Yes, life should not be cut off. If it weren't for Jiang, the 40 cavalry would face 70 infantry on the plain, and even with Jiang, a warrior from the later period, the hope would be slim. The crowd, who had already made up their minds to die, suddenly turned around and their hearts were filled with joy. Big brother. Just as everyone was speaking, Jiang had already arrived by their side. Seeing Jiang, Jiang immediately dismounted and saluted Jiang with a fist. Brother Jiang, you're welcome. Jiang immediately stepped forward and patted Jiang's shoulder, his face full of smiles. The black armored soldiers around him saw this scene, and their faces couldn't help but show joy. Jiang Fei. Jiang and Jiang pretended to exchange pleasantries and then said seriously. Sir. Jiang Fei clasped his fists and saluted. Jiang is just a 7th-rank battalion captain, far from the general. Although he is a military officer, he cannot be called a general, but can only be called an adult. Please arrange a few to bring over my Jiang brothers' loot phones, clean up the battlefield as soon as possible, collect all the dead horses, and take them back. Tonight, we celebrate for everyone. Okay. Before Jiang Fei could reply, the soldiers below had already shouted loudly. Yes. Jiang Fei's face also showed a hint of smile as he looked at the soldiers around him. With the order of Jiang, the soldiers each got busy, taking away all their weapons and armor, and cutting off the enemy's left ear as proof of military merit. Half an hour later, dozens of people set off again, but one of the day after tomorrow's heaviest officers was left behind. His task is to set fire and burn the bodies half an hour after everyone has left. Whether it's the northern barbarians or our own people, there are too many people and the distance from the military town is too far, making transportation inconvenient and dangerous. Although it's a bit cruel, it's still the most convenient to burn it. Half an hour later, Captain Wu ignited a fire and burned the body, then rode away on horseback, while on the other side, Jiang and others had already arrived at the military town of Class C. Jiang looked at the military town in front of him. The military town was not large, slightly smaller than the ancient town in Jiang's impression. Looking for a book garden www.zhaosuiyuan.com, the military town in front of him had a city wall. Although it was not high, there was no shortage of city walls, watchtowers, and arrow towers. And in the middle of the military town, there is a big flag with the character Yen written on it. Watching the soldiers return to the camp, the gate of the military town slowly opened, and an old man wearing black leather armor greeted him. Dozens of soldiers followed immediately took over from the soldiers in the battle, and everyone entered the military town together. The old man looked at the few dozen soldiers behind him and said, Sir, what is this? Encountered northern barbarian cavalry, let's go, it says inside. Okay. In the Yamen lobby of the town center, there are Jiang, Jiang, Jiang Fei, and an old man named Wang He, who was one of the 5 flag officials under Jiang's command. Jiang Fei explained all the previous periods to Wang He, and Wang He's face showed a look of sadness as he silently clasped his fists and saluted Jiang. Jiang also bowed back, but neither of them said anything. Fortunately, we successfully completed the military order given by General Chu Pian, intercepted 100-strong grain brigade of barbarians, and even destroyed 100-strong cavalry, earning a profit, said Jiang Fei. Indeed, no matter what, this is still considered a victory. I will send a message to Beichuan City later to commend the soldiers who participated in the battle. Jiang also said with some weight. Those soldiers died under the watchful eye of Jiang. If it weren't for the protection of these soldiers, Jiang would have been gone long ago. By the way, Wang He, can something happen in the town when you go out for a while? Before Wang He could answer, the door was suddenly pushed open with a loud bang. 2 wooden doors slammed into the wall behind them, and a young man with a gloomy face rushed into the room. Jiang, how dare you avenge yourself publicly and secretly kill Uncle Ping and Uncle An? Chapter 5. Li Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bold, Li Qingjian, how dare you disregard your dignity and offend me below. Jiang Fei patted the table beside him. Humph, go up. He's also worthy, just a disheveled homeless dog. Today, he twisted the law for personal gain on the battlefield and killed my two uncles. Wait and see, I will definitely go to Chu Pianjiang's place to sue you. The young man pointed at Chu Jiang and shouted angrily. Chu Jiang frowned and grabbed the teacup in his hand, smashing it directly onto the young man's forehead. The hot tea poured all over the young man's head, and his face turned red at a visible speed. Fresh blood slowly flowed down from his forehead. Get lost. The young man stared blankly at Chu Jiang, his face full of disbelief, as if he didn't expect Chu Jiang to take action against him. Facing Chu Jiang's eyes, he saw the chilly chill inside, and his body trembled instantly. The arrogant aura just now dissipated in an instant, and he stumbled and left the room. Chu Jiang looked at the young man leaving with a murderous intent in his eyes. Li Qingjian, one of the 5 flag officials under Chu Jiang's command, is a member of the Li family who has been guarding the military town of Class C for generations. Since the establishment of this military town of Class C, he has been sitting here ever since. The 2 flag officials who died in battle under Chu Jiang's command before, Li Shouan and Li Shuping, were both members of the Li family. As the Li family, who have been sitting in the military town of Class C for generations, 3 of the 5 flag officials are members of the Li family, which shows the strength of the Li family's power here. If it weren't for the accidental death of Li Qingjian's father in battle, it wouldn't have been Chu Jiang's turn to become a battalion captain here. Chu Jiang was born into the Chu family in Beichuan City. 1 year ago, he was one of the 5 major generals and aristocratic families in Beichuan City. His father was one of the 4 major colonels in Beichuan City. However, a year ago when the northern barbarians entered the border, there was a great war and Chu Jiang's father died in battle. At that time, Chu Jiang happened to be 19 and had not yet passed the imperial examination. Moreover, his martial arts cultivation level was only 7, which was not innate, and he could not inherit his position as a colonel. However, Chu Pianjiang remembered the credit of Chu He's father and appointed Chu He as his battalion commander, stationed in the C-class military town where the battalion commander had just been attacked by the northern barbarians and died in battle. The battalion captain died in battle, and it was understandable for them to send him over. However, the Li family has always regarded the town of Class C as their own territory, and they are naturally dissatisfied with the Chu River's airborne arrival. In theory, it is reasonable for Chu Jiang to take office, and his 7-fold cultivation in the day after tomorrow is enough to suppress the Li family. However, there was an old soldier in the Li family who had a cultivation level of 8, and was a trusted confidant of Li Qingjian's grandfather. He was loyal to the Li family and left the army, guarding and protecting the Li family. Although he is old and weak, and his strength has greatly decreased, he is still an acquired martial artist with 8 levels of strength, and he is also a veteran who has been through the battlefield for a long time. His original body also has a lot of fear towards him. Moreover, the Li family is a big clan, according to legend, originating from the capital city of Yan, and is a branch of the big clan that the emperor specifically migrated from the capital to balance the northern Liang king. The general of the Liangshan army, one of the 3 northern armies where Chu Jiang is currently located, is the Li family. The Li family has a huge influence in the Liangshan army, and even this small branch has some connections in the Beichuan city. The original body was extremely wary of these relationships, which also led to Li Qingjian, the young master of the Li family, violating the rule of Fengyin in Chu Jiangyang. On a trip today, both flag officials of the Li family were killed in battle, but the only surviving flag official was Jiang Fei, who was close to Chu Jiang. Li Qingjian couldn't help but think about it, which made him angry and directly scolded Chu Jiang, his immediate superior. But Chu Jiang is not the same as before. With these 10,000 boundary generals present, how could Chu Jiang be wary of a Li family and an old soldier from the 8 heavens the day after tomorrow? As for the relationship between the Li family, with the invasion of the northern barbarians, who is still in the mood to engage in these things? After this battle, the Li family may have disappeared long ago. Chu Jiang waved his hand and the guard at the door closed the door. Wang He, please continue speaking. Sir, nothing major has happened. It only takes you 4 hours to leave, and everything in the town is safe and sound, Wang He spoke in awe. Well, as long as it's okay. In this great war, 2 flag officials fought bravely and died on the battlefield. I will pay special attention to their merits. However, at this time, the war has just begun, and we have lost most of our combat power. We must recruit soldiers to fill the gaps in order to protect the town in the upcoming war. Except for the 3 soldiers in the army, the remaining warriors in the town who are at or above the middle stage of the postnatal period are all old soldiers. They are too old and their combat power has declined. Moreover, they have been fighting for us, Dian, for a lifetime. When we are old, we will not trouble them unless absolutely necessary. The Qin brothers were one of the adopted sons my father had received before. They were sent south by my father to study arts, but now they have returned from their studies and are already martial artists of the 9 heavens. During the war, everything was kept simple. I plan to temporarily appoint the Qin brothers as flag officers, leading 200 new soldiers. After the war, I will report to the general again. What do you think? Chu Jiang looked at them and said. Jiang Fei and Wang He are not members of the Li family. Jiang Fei, who came down from Beichuan City with Chu Jiang, is a Wuchong warrior the day after tomorrow. After the Great War at that time, not only did the battalion captains in the later period of the day after tomorrow die in battle in the C-class military town, but also a large number of low-level officials died in battle. Adding together the young and middle-aged people of the entire town, there were only 4 mid-period warriors in the day after tomorrow. Moreover, they are all martial artists of the 4th level, who were basically recruited in the later stage. Even if they have high cultivation, they will not become candidates. Therefore, Beichuan City summoned Jiang Fei to Chujiang and filled in the 5 flag officials of the 3rd-class town. Wang He, on the other hand, was a local of the Class C family, just like the 3 members of the Li family, who underwent a 4-fold restoration the day after tomorrow. However, he was previously excluded by the Li family, and when the Li family suffered a heavy blow, he finally managed to secure a flag official. As a newcomer, encountering a local snake like the Li family naturally pulled the 2 of them closer. Moreover, when Chu Jiang flipped through his original memory, he found that the deaths of Li Shuping and Li Shouan, the 2 flag officials of the Li family, were indeed the result of his original involvement. He did not seek personal gain or bend the law, but only allowed the army under their command to stand at the forefront. It was a normal arrangement, as someone always had to guard the front. It was up to the commander to decide who it was. However, originally their cultivation level was low, and when they faced the 4-wheeled charge of the northern barbarian cavalry, they became cold. Chu Jiang didn't even notice how they died. The 2 of them exchanged a glance without any hesitation and said, Captain Ng is absolutely right. The brothers Qin have excellent martial arts skills. If they can stay, they will definitely be able to protect the town. Okay, Wang He, the Qin brothers have just arrived and are not familiar with the town. Tomorrow, you will be selecting soldiers with the Qin brothers. Yes. You go back first, Jiang Fei. You go back and rest well. After a big battle, you have regained your spirit. Wang He, tonight's celebration banquet requires you to watch Zhang Luo. Yes. After the 2 of them left, Chu He waved and the 2 guards at the door walked in, saying, Sir. Bring more confidence and keep a close eye on the Li family for me. Yes. Chapter 6. Arrangement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As everyone left, Chu Jiang looked at Shi beside him and asked with a smile, "Brother Shi, I wonder how strong you are." Shi immediately clasped his fists and bowed in a low voice, saying, "Your Highness, if you don't have armor on your body or a sword or shield in your hand, in terms of your martial arts skills, it's not much different from ordinary 9th level martial artists, only 1 or 2 points stronger. If armor is on the body and swords are in hand, ordinary martial artists in the martial arts world can easily kill those of the same level. Even innate martial artists can fight undefeated with numerous moves. If all the soldiers under my command are present, I can surround and kill Xiantian." After a pause, Shi added. Xia Xian nodded slightly. "Not bad, this strength should be considered strong among the 9 heavens the day after tomorrow, but it's not too strong. At least fighting over a level is not acceptable. However, it is also true that Shi is just one of the team leaders among the 100,000 right guards, and can be considered the lowest level military officer. There are a total of 4,000 people among the entire right guards. Moreover, Shi is not a person of the yellow rank. If he can truly fight beyond the realm, that would be outrageous. However, not being outrageous does not mean being weak. Daring to rely on a team of 25 soldiers to surround and kill Xiantian is definitely a peak expert in the acquired realm. In the entire Liangshan army, even the cavalry team of all the warriors, led by the flag officials in the later period of the day after tomorrow, is able to encircle one Xiantian with 100 people. However, a team of soldiers and horses, no one dares to guarantee it. In the future, you can call me adults instead of Grand Marshal, even if we are alone, it's the same. Yes. Shi clasped his fists and saluted again. Okay, you can stay at my residence temporarily. Yes. As the only official in charge of all military and political affairs in the C-class military town, Chu Jiang naturally has his own mansion. The mansion is not large, but it is also a 3-courtyard. In addition to Chu Jiang himself, there are 4 old soldiers, several personal guards under Chu Jiang's command, and a cook. Even families like the Li family have old soldiers, and Chu Jiang, as one of the 5 major families in Beichuan City, naturally existed from old soldiers. Basically, in the entire northern region, any family of military officials would have several old soldiers present. Before Chu Jiang's father's death in battle, there were 4 old soldiers at home, 1 with 6 weights the day after tomorrow, 1 with 4 weights the day after tomorrow, and 2 with 1 weight the day after tomorrow. Chu Jiang carried them with him when he moved out of Beichuan City. After Chu Jiang was granted the title of Binghao military town, he sold his property, purchased 12 body-quenching pills for warriors, selected 12 clever and loyal young soldiers, and subdued them, becoming Chu Jiang's personal guard. In theory, Chu Jiang is a battalion captain and using 12 personal guards is completely against the rules. However, this is the northern region, which has the largest military strength. Anyone who is a military officer does not take this rule seriously. Truly following the rules is unique, as long as you don't go too far, it's okay. The 2 black armored soldiers who fought hard to save Chu Jiang before were Chu Jiang's personal guards and the warriors of the day after tomorrow. 6 of Chu Jiang's 12 personal guards were inserted into the army by Chu Jiang and 4 stayed at home, and 2 stayed by Chu Jiang's side. Previously, Chu Jiang sent 2 guards to monitor the Li family, who were Chu Jiang's personal guards. Unfortunately, in the previous battle, Chu Jiang brought out 8 personal guards and only returned 2. Shaking his head, Chu Jiang was no longer in charge of these things. With a movement of his mind, he appeared in the Xuanjia Army platform. Previously, there were enemy forces outside, and without dealing with the barbarians, Chu Jiang's heart couldn't calm down, so he naturally didn't have time to carefully inspect the Xuanjia Army platform. At this moment, Chu Jiang couldn't help but feel an itch in his heart. Entering the general's platform, Chu Jiang's figure sat directly on the table this time. At this point, the number on the book had already increased to 96, and the 28 northern barbarian cavalry soldiers killed by Shi Qing had already been counted, obviously including 5 posthumous warriors. After taking a glance, Chu Jiang picked up the book of the Right Martial Guard and started reading it. After a while, Chu Jiang's face showed a look of surprise. I didn't look carefully before. The strength of the Right Martial Guard is still beyond Chu Jiang's imagination. If all of this 100,000 army were summoned, Chu Jiang could easily sweep the entire northern region. The entire Right Military Guard consists of 100,000 soldiers, 5 of whom are in the first 5, 5 of whom are in the first 5, 4 of which are in the first 5, 5 of which are in the first flag, 5 of which are in the first 5, 10 of which are in the first 10, and 4 of which are in the first 4. The entire Right Military Guard has 5 armies in the front, back, left, right, and center. Xuanjia and his soldiers are all postnatal triple warriors, the military commander is postnatal mid-level warrior, the team commander is postnatal late-stage warrior, the flag officer is postnatal early-stage warrior, the colonel is postnatal mid-stage warrior, the partial general is postnatal late-stage warrior, the general is postnatal early-stage warrior, and the general Cheng Yao Jin is postnatal 9th level warrior. This configuration will completely destroy the 3 armies guarding the northern region. Under the same command of 500 people, the Chu River is the 7th level after birth, while the Right Martial Guard is in the mid-innate period and General Cheng Yao Jin, the commander of the Right Military Guard, has reached the level of reaching the 9th level of the Xianjing realm, making him the strongest under the Yuangang realm master. Moreover, as the only yellow rank hero in the Right Military Guard, Cheng Yaojin's real combat power is definitely stronger than his actual realm. After all, he should also be a master-level expert. Once it stabilizes, spend 5,000 summoning points to summon Cheng Yaojin first. Even if the northern barbarians come and the northern army is defeated, find Cheng Yaojin from Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, who has the strength of a master, and you can still escape with your life among the thousands of troops. After understanding the specific situation of the Right Martial Guard, Chu Jiang flipped through the roster and planned to surprise Li Qingjian with 50 summoning points. Li family. Pop. A teacup shattered on the ground. Bullying people too much. It's really bullying too much. It's okay if Chu Jiang snatched my position as a battalion captain, but now he's using his power for personal gain and openly harming Uncle N and Uncle Ping. Humph, if Uncle N and Uncle Ping are here today, how dare Chu Jiang attack me? Li Qingjian wrapped a white cloth around his head and walked around in a hurry, his face full of resentment. Young master, calm down, said an old soldier wearing leather armor. Grandpa Su, how can you calm me down? He's already riding on my head. Li Qingjian spoke with a resentful expression on his face. When going out to fight against the northern barbarians, casualties were inevitable, but 2 of the 3 flag officers died, and the ones who died were all from my Li family. I don't believe it even if there are no tricks. The old soldier's eyes flickered with a cold light. Humph, it's Chu Jiang who uses his power for personal gain and wants to weaken the power of our Li family, Li Qingjian said angrily. Since that's the case, let him know who the owner of the C-class military town is. Young master, please contact the soldiers in advance, and I will go talk to some old friends. Tonight, we will annihilate the Chu clan, and the military report has not yet written about it. It's just the time to report the heroic death of the battalion captain. The old soldier spoke calmly. Okay. Li Qingjian touched the wound on his forehead. Chu Jiang, you are an outsider. You have no idea about the strength of our Li family in the town of Class C. Even if it weren't for Uncle N and Uncle Ping's 200 men, I could have killed you. Chapter 7. Mutiny. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At night, the soldiers who went out to fight had rested for 2 hours and had regained their spirits. Except for those on duty in the 2 teams, all other soldiers headed towards the school field. When the time was almost up, Chu Jiang arrived at the campus with a few guards. The soldiers who were already seated around stood up one after another and said, "Sir." Chu Jiang's face was full of smiles and he said with a smile, "Everyone sit, everyone sit." When responding to the soldiers, Chu Jiang calmly looked around and saw 3 elderly soldiers on a table behind Li Qingjian. The closest tables to Chu Jiang, except for some wounded soldiers, were mostly Li Qingjian's slightly nervous subordinates. Chu Jiang sneered and ignored Li Qingjian. He raised his glass and said, "Brothers, today our army has annihilated 200 soldiers of the northern barbarians, including 100 cavalry on the plain. This is a great victory, but for this, 227 comrades died in battle. Ladies and gentlemen, this first cup of wine is to pay tribute to the deceased brothers' robes. Brothers, let's go." Chu Jiang heavily spilled the wine in his hand on the ground, and 200 soldiers on the scene followed suit. The school field was silent, and a sense of sadness filled the air. "Brothers, let's go." After half a ring, Chu Jiang finally filled his second glass of wine and said, "This second glass of wine, we pay tribute to Brother Shiqing. Brother Shiqing arrived in time and saved our name. Brother Shiqing is our life-saving benefactor. Thank you for your help. Thanks to the brother's life-saving kindness." After speaking, Chu Jiang took the lead in drying the wine. Just as Chu Jiang looked up, the old soldier behind Li Qingjian suddenly rose up and pulled out a crossbow from under the table, turning his head towards Chu Jiang. Just as I was about to pull it off, a sharp feather arrow shot out of the screen behind Chu River, piercing through the old soldier's throat. The old soldier collapsed weakly. Li Qingjian watched as the old soldier fell to the ground and suddenly froze in place, while the other 2 old soldiers next to him began to move. One took out a cylindrical object and pulled it towards the sky, causing a fireworks display to appear instantly. And another old soldier drew his knife and shouted, "Kill! Take Chu River and reward 100 taels of silver." 7 or 8 soldiers on the tables around Chu River stood up one after another. Just as they were about to surround Chu River, a feather arrow suddenly shot out of the window, hitting the chest of the old soldier who was shouting to kill. The old soldier's eyes were fixed on the house, 2 archers. The old soldier who had not yet taken 2 steps fell to the ground. The soldier who stood up was momentarily stunned. In that moment, a feather arrow broke through the air again and shot at Li Qingjian, but this time it was blocked by the people around Li Qingjian. However, before everyone could relax, Shiqing next to Chu Jiang took out a knife and shield from under the table, stomped fiercely on the ground, and struck Li Qingjian with a knife on the head. A few people around Li Qingjian quickly stepped forward, but several people who were not even martial artists were not Shiqing's opponents. They fought 3 times, divided 5 times, and all those who blocked the way died under Shiqing's sword. Looking at Shiqing in front of him, Li Qingjian quickly drew his sword. With a clang, Li Qingjian took 7 or 8 steps back and landed his long sword, his arms trembling uncontrollably. Before Li Qingjian could recover, the sharp sword light in front of him was getting closer and closer. "Be careful." The old soldier on the side swung his sword towards Shiqing, and in the next moment, the long sword in his hand was cut in half. The speed of the long sword did not decrease, but it still passed through Li Qingjian's throat. "Young master." The old soldier beside him cried out in sorrow, but before he could recover, another sharp blade flashed by, and the old soldier was also beheaded by a sword. "Since you are so loyal, go and accompany your young master," Shiqing said lightly. The soldiers around were staring blankly at the scene on the school field. The knives in their hands had already been pulled out, but the 4 officials were dead. What should we do now? On the other side, hundreds of young men with weapons suddenly rushed into the school field, led by several collateral branches of the Li family, as well as several old soldiers from the early days after tomorrow. Everyone rushed in, staring at the silent scene in front of them, as well as the 4 fallen bodies. They were all stunned on the spot. I have thought about the 2 sides fighting after entering, and I have thought about the Chu River being killed, but I didn't expect the scene in front of me. A young man in a robe, led by him, saw the scene before him and looked at the 300 people behind him, as well as the 200 soldiers in front of him. A bold idea couldn't help but come to his mind. "Chu Jiang, how dare you kill my elder brother? Today is your day of death. Kill anyone from my Li family." As the young man's words fell, he immediately led the 300 people behind him to kill before his eyes, and the dozens of soldiers in front of Chu Jiang seemed to have realized something. He gritted his teeth and a resolute expression flashed in his eyes, killing Chu Jiang. Shi Qing and Chu Jiang instantly retreated, and at the same time, dozens of feather arrows were shot from behind Chu Jiang, killing more than a dozen soldiers who rushed to the front on the spot. Among them, there was an extremely sharp feather arrow that flashed like a lightning bolt, piercing through the young man in brocade who was shouting at zhaozuiyuan.com. If someone from the Li family commits a crime and plans a mutiny, it is beyond punishment and has nothing to do with your ordinary soldiers. Let go of your weapons, Rao Er and others are innocent. The voice of Chu Jiang came from inside the lobby, but the feather arrow never stopped, forcing the soldiers rushing forward to retreat. At such a close distance, almost every moment someone fell. And most importantly, these feather arrows are mixed with an extremely sharp feather arrow, almost one arrow at a time. Anyone who is targeted will inevitably die. The army under Li Qingjian quickly retreated until they retreated 50 steps away, and Yujin finally stopped. Without waiting for everyone to breathe a sigh of relief, suddenly, a team under Li Qingjian's command suddenly felt a pain in their chest, and a long sword pierced through their chest. The Li surname team was upright, and with some difficulty, they turned their heads to see the face of the Chu Jiang guards. Don't forget, not only the 100 soldiers under Li Qingjian, but also the 70 people brought by Chu Jiang today, as well as the 50 people under Wang He, are attending the celebration banquet here. The people who had previously been killed were all Li Qingjian's men, who were pushed back by Yujin and then crowded together with the soldiers behind them. Everyone's attention was focused on guarding against Yujin in front, so they naturally had no time to care about behind them. For a moment, the soldiers under Li Qingjian's command were easily killed clean. Immediately, under the leadership of Jiang Fei and Chu Jiang's guards, the 120th person quickly turned around and aimed their weapons at the 300 people brought by the man in the brocade robe behind them. At the same time, Wang He arrived at the school gate with a team of soldiers and blocked the gate. On the other hand, Chu Jiang also walked out of the camp with a team of archers. The archers surrounded the 300-meter young men and pointed sharp feather arrows at them. Chapter 8. The Downfall of the Li Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. If someone below the Li family commits a crime and conspires to harm a colleague, it is not a crime that cannot be punished. You are not the Li family, but have been misled by the Li family and will immediately lay down your weapons. I can promise to let bygones be bygones. Looking at the crowd with different expressions, Chu Jiang exclaimed loudly, "If you are stubborn, no wonder my subordinates are ruthless. When the arrow rain falls, you will undoubtedly die, and it will also harm your family afterwards. You will die once in a lifetime. How you choose is up to you." Upon hearing Chu Jiang mention his family, a group of young men's faces suddenly changed. A young man threw down his weapon and knelt down on the ground, shouting loudly, "I'm just following orders. Everything has nothing to do with me. Please let me know, Captain." The first person threw down their weapon, and everyone immediately put out the fire. One by one, they threw down their weapons and knelt on the ground. The Li family has clearly been defeated, and all the main members have died. There are only a few side branches left, and the strongest one, the day after tomorrow, is triple, completely unable to bear the burden of the Li family. Although the 300 of them have intricate relationships with the Li family, and the Li family has shown kindness to them, they can repay the kindness and even die. All 300 of them are strong people, without armor on their bodies, with only a sword in their hands, and no bows, arrows, or shields. Even if there are 300 of them, they are not opponents of the more than 100 regular troops under Chu Jiang's command. Everyone knows how to choose. For a moment, a large area knelt down on the school field, leaving only 7 young men in brocade and 4 old soldiers standing in place. However, as they watched the scene of kneeling behind them, several people knew they had no hope and weakly put down their weapons. Looking at the 11 people, Chu Jiang sneered and said, "Take it down." Yes. The soldiers behind Chu Jiang suddenly moved and pulled out 11 people, kneeling to one side. Chu Jiang looked coldly at the few people and said, "Kill me. Sir, spare my life. It's not what I want to do, it's Li Qingjian. It's Li Qingjian who forced me. Sir, we are all innocent, we are all Li Qingjian. Your Highness, I am willing to be loyal. I am a martial artist after birth, and I am willing to be a small soldier in front of your Highness's tent." Upon hearing Chu Jiang's words, the Li family's vassals began to plead for mercy. "Alas, my lord, we have nothing to say about today's matter. But we, the old guys, have fought our entire lives. I hope your lord can give us a chance to die on the battlefield." An old soldier beside us sighed faintly and spoke up. "Please forgive me, sir. Sir, give us a chance. As long as we go to the battlefield, we old folks promise not to come back alive." The 2 old soldiers next to each agreed. Chu Jiang ignored the 7 Li family branches, a group of greedy, cowardly, blind and ignorant useless people. Even the 3 early-stage warriors inside were the same. Not to mention, none of them had the backbone at the moment. Tonight, they led troops to the school field, but none of them, Jia, criticized them. They attacked the battlefield with their golden clothes. Chu Jiang couldn't figure out how they, who were from a family of military officials, were so ignorant. Even before the crossing of the Chu River, as an ordinary student in reality, I knew the role of ancient armor. In ancient times, I couldn't help but use swords and swords, but only armor and crossbows were prohibited. Anyone who discovered it would be punished with the crime of rebellion, with 3 tribes being punished for minor offenses and 9 tribes being punished for serious offenses. From this punishment, one can see the importance of armor and crossbows. Even though they knew there was fighting, they came over wearing brocade clothes, leaving Chu Jiang speechless to the extreme. In today's Dian, even with extraordinary powers, armor and crossbows are still controlled weapons, and if caught, the 9 tribes will be executed. However, the Li family is a family of military officials who have been stationed in the C-class military town for nearly a century, and they still hold military power. It is still possible to obtain some ordinary wooden armor. Even if not, the armor left by the Li family's ancestors who died in battle must still be there. They don't wear it, and Chu Jiang can only think that their heads are missing a string. Looking at the 4 old soldiers who were determined to die, Chu Jiang hesitated in his heart. If it weren't for the 10,000 Realms Commander's platform, Chu Jiang would have fulfilled their wishes no matter what, and let them understand this life on the battlefield. But all 4 of them are early warriors from the day after tomorrow, almost equivalent to a 9-tier elite soldier from the day after tomorrow. Moreover, judging from their age, they don't have much combat power left. Going to the battlefield is purely a suicidal behavior, and they probably won't be able to hold a few back, far less practical than 40 summoning points. Chu Jiang's heart turned sideways and said, "You fought for me, Dian, for my whole life. Before I died, I had this request, and I shouldn't have refused it. But as you can see, I have 500 soldiers under my command, 230 killed in battle, and 100 rebelled. There aren't many left now. These are all seniors from the town, with great prestige and strength. In this situation, I'm afraid I can't keep an eye on them. The Li family has already turned against them, and it has become a fact. If you all make another desperate attempt, then..." What was that? Chu Jiang didn't say it, but all 4 old soldiers understood. Upon careful consideration, what Chu Jiang said was also reasonable. After all, people can do anything in the face of death. Even to the point of saying, when they heard of the desperate struggle, their minds became a bit lively. Chu Jiang took a jar of wine from a nearby table and immediately took 5 bowls from Shiqing next to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, handing 4 to the old soldier. Chu Jiang gave a look, and the soldiers behind the 4 old soldiers suddenly let go of the 4. Chu Jiang filled the 4 of them one by one, and then filled himself again. I'll send the 4 on the road. Thank you, Captain Ingui. We have done something wrong. Captain Ingui still drank and bid us farewell. Captain Ingui has a kind heart, and I admire him. In my next life, I make 3 wishes to be a cow and a horse for Captain Ingui, in order to repay today's farewell. One of the 3 old soldiers, who were 3 times the day after tomorrow, spoke up, and then the 4 old soldiers picked up bowls and drank them all in one gulp. Chu Jiang also drank it all in one gulp, then smashed the wine bowl and immediately turned around. Listening to the sound of the wine bowl landing behind him, Chu Jiang immediately signaled to Guoshi, who had just been summoned, and said, "Send the 4 of you on your way." Guoshi suddenly understood and grabbed 4 feather arrows from behind. He arched and shot them, and the 4 feather arrows pierced through the throats of the 4 people in an instant. Later, Chu Jiang glanced at the several Li family members around him and waved his hand, "Cut it off." Yes. Several blood splattered, and 7 headless corpses were added to the ground. This scene made everyone kneeling on the campus even more nervous. One of the 12 leaders was shot to death by a feather arrow, and the remaining 11, whether they were prestigious old soldiers or the Li family, were all unable to escape death. This also makes those who follow the rebellion feel uneasy. If this battalion captain doesn't keep his word, then it's all over. You all go. Just as everyone's nervous hearts were about to jump out, Chu Jiang's calm voice rang out. There are 300 people present, and it's evening. I don't know who you are. Leave your weapons and go home each. I'll just pretend that nothing happened tonight. Chapter 9. Summoning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The voice of Chu Jiang fell, and everyone's hanging hearts instantly fell. Yes, the lights were dark and it was difficult to see their faces clearly. Besides, there were 300 of them. As long as they left now, Captain Ing could remember a few. Chu Jiang waved his hand, and Wang He, along with a team of soldiers, let go of the school gate. 300 young men and women rushed out of the school gate, transforming into scattered birds and beasts and disappearing into the town. Lord Ingwe's predictions are as accurate as God's. How dare this person from the Li family to do such a heinous act? Wang He said in front of Chu River. The Li family has a deep foundation and claims to be powerful. They never take outsiders like us seriously, and there is nothing they dare not do. Wang He, lead your troops back to guard the city tower first. In case the northern barbarians attack the camp, it will break down. Yes. Wang He clasped his fists and saluted, and immediately left with his team of soldiers and a team of archers led by Chu Jiang before. According to the military system of the Great Yan, a flag officer with 100 soldiers has 4 teams under his command, including 2 teams of swordsmen and shield bearers, 1 team leader of gunmen, and 1 team of archers. The archers who had previously ambushed in the camp by Chu Jiang were those under the command of Wang He, along with a team of swords and shields who later blocked the gate. They were actually soldiers on duty above the city tower tonight, and Chu Jiang silently recalled them, catching Li Qingjian off guard. At this point, the Li family is already finished, and it is time for those who are urgently seconded to return to duty. They are still in the midst of a major war, so it would be troublesome if any barbarians come over. Even the northern barbarian cavalry generally do not attack cities, but be careful with them. Speaking of this, Chu Jiang is actually a bit scared. The strength mobilized by the Li family really surprised Chu Jiang, with 300 young men and 100 armored soldiers. If they were to fight head-on, Chu Jiang might not be a match for the Li family. To be honest, if it weren't for the appearance of the 300 young men behind him, Jiang wouldn't have killed 100 soldiers under his command. Jiang's original plan was to directly shoot down important figures in the Li family and subdue the 100 soldiers under Li Qingjian's command. Unfortunately, no one expected that the Li family would even bring out 300 young soldiers. The situation was critical before, and if not suppressed with thunderous force, accidents might occur. They had to use their backers to kill 100 soldiers. Jiang threw these thoughts out of his mind and looked at the tired soldiers and the chaotic scene before him, saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, we returned from fighting against the northern barbarians outside, but the Li family is actually rampant in their nest. Now that the enemy is in front of us, the northern barbarians are eyeing us closely, and the Li family is not sincere enough to unite. They have been outside, still making mistakes here and excluding dissidents. It's really frustrating. I have been here for over a year now, and my 500 soldiers have been divided into 2 camps. The Li family has 300 soldiers, and I have 200 soldiers under my command. I am a battalion commander appointed by the court, in charge of all military and political affairs of the C-class military town. His Li family is not a hereditary and irreplaceable noble. How can he have the qualifications to control this C-class military town? Today, the Li family dares to rebel. In the future, if we go to the battlefield, the Li family will frame us for profit. Today, we will completely eliminate the Li family. Although we have lost 100 soldiers, the rest are brothers who can rely on life and death on the battlefield. Rebels, we don't need them. Come, brothers, do a bowl of work to eliminate traitors. In the future, brothers will unite and swear to kill barbarians. Brother, with one heart, swear to kill barbarians." The morale of those who were originally low instantly surged, their eyes filled with murderous intent. The North barbarians are the biggest enemy of the entire North, and almost all the people in the North have a grudge against the North barbarians. Jiang Fei, take someone to tidy up. Yes. All of this happened, and the celebration banquet could not be held anymore. Jiang immediately led Shi Qing and the archer Guo Shi, who had just been summoned from the day after tomorrow, into the camp. Guo Shi, the soldier summoned by Jiang in the afternoon, was also a member of the front army of the Reich Military Guard. He was the leader of the arrow team and a martial artist of the 9 heavens, with excellent archery skills. The soldiers and horses in the Reich Military Guard, like the Xuanjia Army where Jiang was located, were also divided into a team of archers, a captain of spearmen, and 2 teams of sword and shield soldiers. Guo Shi is the team leader specifically in charge of archers. After entering the camp, Jiang entered the Xuanjia Dianjiang platform and sat on a high platform. Jiang looked at the numbers on the booklet for the first time. 409 o'clock. Originally, there were only 96 points left. After summoning Guo Shi, there were still 46 points left. However, when killing the Li mansion earlier, only the soldiers killed 100 people. Among them, 4 teams were all warriors, and among the remaining generals, 11 were also warriors. These alone have 239 summoning points. In addition, Li Qingjian and 3 old soldiers, as well as the young man in genie who was later shot by Guo Shi, 2 and 4 old soldiers, are all warriors. The 7 Li family branches who were beheaded, among which 3 were warriors, had 124 points, totaling 409 points, which was enough for Jiang to summon 8 soldiers. Immediately, Jiang searched through the roster and ultimately chose 8 soldiers summoned by the 9 heavenly generals, 4 sword and shield soldiers, and 4 archers. Currently, Jiang's power is still very weak. How to maximize benefits? Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. If you can summon a team leader, you will never summon a sergeant. If you can summon someone from the 9th level, you will never summon someone from the 8th level. Without any hesitation, Jiang summoned the 8 people directly to his camp without any intention of summoning them outside the town. Now, the entire C-class military town is the largest in Xuanjia. You don't need to put in all that effort, nor do you need to explain to anyone how it came about. Guess for yourself. During times of war, strength is everything. 10 days after tomorrow, 9 levels of strength, and even the elite in the military, it's useless for innate experts to come. Looking at the 10 people in front of him, Jiang showed a satisfied smile at the corner of his mouth. In this chaotic world, he finally had some strength. At least, as before, there's no need for archers to ambush and suppress. 10 people can easily defeat a team of 100. Subsequently, Jiang looked at the battle report in his hand, pondered for a moment, and did not make any further changes. The matter of the Li family was directly concealed by Jiang. The Li family has a significant relationship in Beichuan City. No matter how they report it, whether it's rebellion or being killed by the Northern Barbarian Army, it will attract the attention of the Li family in Beichuan City. It's better not to report it, just like the Li family still exists well. As long as the Li family is fine, during the war, people in Beichuan City will not have time to talk to the Li family. Jiang also doesn't want to confront the Li family in Beichuan City at this time, at least wait until the power under Jiang's command becomes stronger. Subsequently, General Jiang copied 2 copies of the report and took out 3 carrier pigeons from the nearby pigeon cage. The general tied up the report and released one every 15 minutes. This is the method that the Yan army came up with to prevent the carrier pigeons from being shot and killed by the northern barbarian cavalry halfway. Except for some urgent military reports that cost 100,000 yuan and there is no time to do so, the rest need to do so. If Beichuan City receives less than 1 carrier pigeon, it will directly consider military intelligence to be leaked.